Long ago, in the sprawling lands of Ajibade, a fertile region dotted with lush forests, rolling hills, and gleaming rivers, wealth and power were the marks of a man's greatness. Chief Olowolagba, whose name meant one who holds wealth tightly, was the wealthiest man in all of Ajibade. His name was spoken with both reverence and fear, and his shadow loomed over every corner of the land. Olowolagba had not always been rich. Born to humble beginnings, he was the youngest son of a fisherman and a weaver. His parents, while honest and hardworking, struggled to make ends meet. From an early age, Olowolagba vowed that he would not live and die in poverty like his parents. He had a sharp mind, one that could easily decipher opportunities where others saw obstacles. But his ambition often leaned toward cunning rather than integrity. As a young man, Olowolagba worked as an apprentice to a traveling merchant named Adeola, a kind-hearted but naive man who traded in palm oil, kola nuts, and cloth. Olowolagba learned the art of trade, negotiation, and, most importantly, manipulation. Over time, he began to exploit Adeola's trust. He secretly sold goods at higher prices and pocketed the extra money, claiming the buyers had defaulted on payments. By the time Adeola realized the betrayal, it was too late. Olowolagba had amassed enough wealth to start his own trade network. He expanded his reach, dealing in rare spices, ivory, and gold. Olowolagba's appetite for wealth knew no bounds. He bribed chiefs, undercut rivals, and crushed small traders who dared to challenge him. Soon, he was not just a trader but a kingmaker. "I do not simply sell goods," he often boasted. "I sell destinies." When the position of Baal, village head, became vacant in Ajibade, Olowolagba saw an opportunity to cement his influence. Traditionally, the role was awarded to a wise elder chosen by the Council of Chiefs, but Olowolagba had other plans. He hosted lavish feasts, gave extravagant gifts, and quietly threatened those who opposed him. His wealth became his weapon. Chiefs who had once been unyielding pillars of tradition were now bent to his will. When the time for selection came, Olowolagba was crowned Baal. The people of Ajibade were stunned, but no one dared to voice their disapproval. Those who did were swiftly dealt with, either through financial ruin or mysterious disappearances. With his newfound power, Chief Olowolagba ruled with an iron fist. His first act was to impose heavy taxes on the people, demanding a portion of every harvest, trade, or craft. The funds, he claimed, were for the betterment of Ajibade, but they went straight into his growing empire. Life in Ajibade grew harder under Olowolagba's reign. Farmers who once lived peacefully now toiled endlessly, only to lose the fruits of their labor to the chief's tax collectors. Fishermen were forced to give up their best catches, and artisans had to craft fine wares for the chief without payment. "He owns the land, the water, and the air," an old farmer lamented. "How can we survive when even the gods themselves must answer to him?" Olowolagba's favorite method of control was fear. He employed a band of enforcers known as the Iron Claws, ruthless men who carried out his orders without question. They were known for their cruelty, dragging debtors from their homes, burning down villages that resisted, and publicly humiliating those who spoke against the chief. Among the oppressed was a widowed trader named Mama Abani, whose son had been taken by the Iron Claws as payment for a debt she could not repay. She pleaded with the chief, offering him her only remaining possession, a delicate necklace that had belonged to her late husband. Olowolagba examined the necklace and sneered. "This trinket is worth less than the dirt beneath my feet. Your son will remain until you pay what you owe." Mama Abani wept, but her cries fell on deaf ears. Similar stories echoed throughout Ajibade. A young farmer named Durojiri lost his land after failing to meet the chief's exorbitant tax demands. A blacksmith, Adeola, was imprisoned for refusing to craft weapons for the Iron Claws. The elders of Ajibade, once revered for their wisdom, tried to counsel Olowolagba. They reminded him of the old adage, "A man who eats alone will one day choke on his food." But Olowolagba dismissed them with a wave of his hand. "The gods have blessed me with wealth and power," he said. "Why should I share my blessings with those who lack ambition?" Chief Olowolagba's arrogance grew with each passing year. He began to see himself as untouchable, even mocking the gods of the land. When the villagers gathered for the annual yam festival to honor Ogun, the god of harvest, Olowolagba refused to contribute to the offerings. Instead, he declared himself the reason for the village's prosperity. "The gods are nothing without men like me," he proclaimed. "It is my wealth that keeps this village alive, not their mythical powers." The priests warned him of dire consequences, but Olowolagba laughed. "If the gods wish to challenge me, let them. They will find that even they cannot match my strength." Unbeknownst to Olowolagba, the gods were watching, and their patience was wearing thin. The skies over Ajibade grew darker as the days passed, as if the heavens themselves were mourning the plight of the land. Crops that once flourished in abundance began to wither, rivers ran low, and the once merry songs of birds were replaced by an eerie silence. The villagers, already burdened by Chief Olowolagba's oppression, now faced a new terror. Nature itself seemed to have turned against them. The first omen came on a quiet night during the planting season. The village oracle, Baba Ifaradami, sat by his shrine, meditating as he always did before dawn. Suddenly, the sacred lamp that had burned unextinguished for decades flickered and went out. Startled, the old man looked outside and saw a blood-red moon hanging in the sky. "The gods are angry," Baba Ifaradami whispered, his voice trembling. He gathered the elders and relayed what he had seen, urging them to perform sacrifices to appease the gods. The elders, knowing the gravity of the situation, approached Chief Olowolagba. "Great Chief," one of them began cautiously, "the gods are displeased with the way this land is ruled. Let us offer sacrifices and restore balance before it is too late." Olowolagba laughed, his voice echoing through his grand hall. "The gods are displeased? With me? If the gods were truly powerful, they would not need sacrifices to show their might. Leave me to my affairs, old men, and take your superstitions elsewhere." That very night, a thunderstorm unlike any the village had ever seen raged across Ajibade. Lightning struck the tallest palm tree in the center of the village square, splitting it in two, a tree that the villagers believed was sacred to Obatala, the god of creation. The message was clear, but Olowolagba ignored it. In a small, forgotten corner of Ajibade lived Adeola, a 17-year-old orphan whose parents had been among the many victims of Olowolagba's greed. Adeola was known for his keen intellect and unwavering courage, though he had little in terms of material wealth. He survived by hunting in the forest and selling firewood, always dreaming of a day when the people of Ajibade would be free from tyranny. One evening, as Adeola was gathering wood near the edge of the forest, he stumbled upon an old man with a striking presence. The man wore a flowing white robe and carried a staff carved with ancient symbols. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. "Who are you?" Adeola asked, clutching his axe tightly. "I am a messenger of the gods," the old man replied. "The gods have watched this land suffer under Olowolagba's greed and cruelty. They have chosen you, Adeola, to restore balance." Adeola's heart raced. "Me? How can I challenge someone as powerful as Chief Olowolagba's?" The old man smiled. "True power lies not in wealth or fear, but in justice and the will of the people. The gods will guide you, but you must have the courage to take the first step." Before Adeola could ask more, the old man vanished, leaving behind a faint shimmer in the air. In his place lay a small clay amulet etched with the symbols of the gods. Inspired by his encounter, Adeola began to rally the villagers. He spoke of justice, of reclaiming their land and dignity. At first, the villagers were hesitant, afraid of Olowolagba's wrath. But as strange events continued to plague Ajibade, their fear of the gods began to outweigh their fear of the chief. Livestock died mysteriously, the river turned murky and undrinkable, and a plague of locusts destroyed what little remained of the crops. The people, desperate for answers, turned to Adeola, who now carried the authority of the gods. One evening, under the cover of darkness, Adeola gathered a group of villagers at the base of the sacred hill. Baba Ifaradami, the oracle, joined them, his frail hands shaking as he held the clay amulet Adeola had found. "This is a sign from the gods," Baba Ifaradami declared. "They have chosen Adeola to lead us. If we stand together, Olowolagba's reign will end." The villagers, emboldened by the oracle's words, began to form a resistance. They stopped paying taxes, hid their harvests, and refused to obey the iron claws. Small acts of defiance turned into open rebellion. Chief Olowolagba was enraged when he heard of the growing resistance. "Who dares defy me?" he roared, his fists slamming against the grand table in his palace. "It is the boy, Adeola," one of his advisors replied. "The villagers say he is chosen by the gods." Olowolagba sneered. "The gods have no place in my domain. Crush this boy and his followers. Burn their homes if you must. Let them see that I am their god." The iron claws swept through the village, destroying homes and arresting anyone suspected of aiding Adeola. The people suffered greatly, but their spirit remained unbroken. Each act of cruelty only fueled their determination to fight back. One fateful night, Olowolagba hosted a grand feast to celebrate his latest victory against the rebellion. As he and his guests feasted on roasted yams and palm wine, a deafening crack of thunder shook the palace. The ground beneath them trembled, and the walls began to crumble. Terrified, Olowolagba and his guests fled into the courtyard, where they were met with a terrifying sight: a massive storm cloud swirling directly above the palace, lit by bolts of green and blue lightning. From the center of the storm descended the old man Adeola had met in the forest, his presence now towering and divine. "Olowolagba," the figure boomed, "you have mocked the gods and brought suffering to your people. Your time of reckoning has come." The chief fell to his knees, his arrogance melting into terror. "Spare me," he begged. "I will make amends." But the gods were not swayed by his pleas. As the storm raged, Olowolagba's palace was reduced to rubble, and his wealth, gold, jewels, and treasures, was swallowed by the earth. As dawn broke, Adeola emerged as the new leader of Ajibade, not through wealth or fear, but through courage and faith. He vowed to rebuild the village with fairness and respect for tradition. The people, now free from Olowolagba's tyranny, sang praises to the gods and celebrated their newfound hope. The once mighty chief Olowolagba had been brought to his knees. The gods had stripped him of his wealth, his palace, and the power he had wielded so mercilessly. As the sun rose over Ajibade, it revealed a man who had once towered over the land, now reduced to a shadow of himself. The storm that had destroyed his palace left him with nothing but the tattered robes on his back.